The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
In the days of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it is written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.'" Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so I also may go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out. And behold, there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they found the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left their own country by another road. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
You know, I was really thrilled when I heard the responsorial psalm being sung. "Every nation on earth will adore you, Lord." And I realized that indeed, there's no place on earth that I know of where there are not least some Christians. Thanks to our missionaries, priests, women religious, and lay people have brought the faith to all the nations in the world. That's remarkable. Some places only a few, but there they are. Every nation on earth will adore you, Lord. In 1980, a group of priests and I were on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. And I remember very vividly visiting Bethlehem and the Church of the Nativity. The church was built in the 500s. It's really ancient. And it's very, very large and beautiful. Well, in the 600s, the Muslim armies came, mainly from Persia, and they destroyed most of the Christian churches around the Holy Land. But when they got to Bethlehem, they did not destroy the church. Why? Because they saw on the wall this huge painting of the Magi on their knees before the Christ child in the manger. And they were dressed in Persian robes. And they said, "We can't destroy this church. Our people were here. This is a sacred place." So they spared the church, and there it stands to this day, since the 500s. I found myself asking, why would these very wealthy and intelligent men, they were after all scientists and astronomers, why would they take this journey to come and find a Jewish king? Probably just basic curiosity. That star really spoke to them. Something is happening here. An article the other day in the paper said there really was something going on at that time. There was an unusually bright constellation or coming together of stars. Anyway, they came to the place and they found the child and its parents. Now, Matthew makes it clear in the gospel the difference between the seeking behavior of these magi and the indifference of everybody else. especially the religious leaders. Many people must have seen that star, but they didn't bother to check out what's going on. Well, we're busy, and we can't afford to travel, blah, blah, blah. And I find myself asking, how many times have I or we been that way? We naturally resist change, don't we? We want to just, don't bother me, okay? I've changed often enough. Leave me alone. We want to stay in our comfort zone. We really have to resist that temptation, okay? Because change is part of life. It's part of growth. It's part of becoming a better and fuller person, especially a spiritual person. So, last July, our Capuchins gathered together to reflect on Pope Francis's first encyclical, The Joy of the Gospel. We spent 4 days together studying that document, and it's so beautiful, so rich in inspiration. The very first page, the Holy Father says, I want this year every Christian to form and deepen a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. A personal relationship with Jesus Christ. That's the heart of our faith, brothers and sisters. It's not enough to believe a set of truths and follow a set of rules, although those are important. But we can do that without much joy or much enthusiasm, okay? But if we believe that the Lord Jesus loves us, wants to help us, gives us hope, gives us guidance, gives us encouragement, then we want to know him better and know what he taught and what he's asking of us. That would really advance our spiritual life. Now, what does it mean to form a personal relationship with somebody? Well, take any relationship that you have with your spouse or your friend. There usually are 3 things that are happening. First of all, you spend time with that person. You can't have a relationship without spending some time. Secondly, you get to know the person and let that person get to know you. And thirdly, you start to care about what that person cares about. It's the same thing in our relationship with Jesus. We spend time with him. That's called prayer, right? We spend time in prayer each day talking to the Lord. Let the Lord just be in our presence and we in his. Secondly, we come to get to know him better. We want to know what he taught and how he wants us to live. And we do that by studying the Gospels and the other New Testament writings especially, using that Bible of ours to get to know the Lord. And thirdly, we start to care about what Jesus cares about. Do you think Jesus cares about who the latest pop stars are? Or who wins the Academy Awards? Or who wins the Super Bowl? Probably not. What does the Lord care about? He cares about, first of all, that we are living good lives. That we are trying to observe and believe the gospel and the commandments. That you are taking care of those people who are poor and left out in society. That we reverence human life from the child in the womb to the people, our elders who are maybe at home or in nursing homes, that we care about those people. That we try to create a little more justice and peace and care for our environment. That's what God cares about, okay? And if we want to be followers of Jesus and related with him, we also care about those things. And one more thing the Pope says, we are also called then to bring that good news to other people. He calls us missionaries and evangelists, huh? That's also part of our vocation, to share what we found with other people who are seeking something to believe in and hope for and help make sense of their lives. You know, nowadays parents are concerned because so often they worry that their children may not be able to resist all the bad example and the false values around them. But I was encouraged recently. I found an article that talked about young adults who have left the church but then came back. And the thing that made the difference for most of them was this: their parents not only practiced their faith, they also talked about their faith. Not in preachy and nagging ways, but just simply and honestly. How God has helped them in their lives. That stuck with these young people, okay? So later on, when they were kind of going off the track, they remembered, Mom and Dad has something that I wish I had. They had a sense of purpose. They had a sense of direction for their lives. They had a sense of peace. That's what I need. And so they began their journey back to the church. So if you're a parent or you're able to do that, just gently share what God has done for you, how your faith in God and your Catholic faith have helped you. That makes a big impression on your people, on your children, grandchildren. And if you're not parents, you can have the same effect on your peers, your coworkers, and your friends. If you're a good listener, if you are able to share how God has helped you in your life, people can't argue with that, okay? And so they walk away and say, gee, I wish I had that kind of a faith system in my life. And so you can be like a star that guides them, like the Magi were guided, okay? By your simple example and your humble sharing of how God has helped you in your life. So, 2 things for the year 2016. First of all, to deepen our relationship with the Lord Jesus, and secondly, realize that we have a calling to share our faith with people around us so that they also can come to believe in the Lord Jesus and find a home in the church that Jesus founded.